Hi, and today I'm thrilled to welcome for Story Live, Mel Sherwood. Welcome, Mel.
Thank you. Hi.
I know Mel through the Professional Speaking Association, the PSA. And Mel, I think we met when you live up in Scotland, don't you?
I do, yes.
You're a member of Scotland PSA. I go to the London branch, and you came to visit the London branch, didn't you?
I did, absolutely,
I
yes.
think you were wearing a red blazer at the time, funny.
I may well have been.
So Mel, tell us a bit about what you do and how you came to be doing it.
Sure. Well, I'm a pitch and presentation specialist and the founder of The Red Effect. I work mainly with entrepreneurs and business professionals who want to express themselves with more confidence, credibility, and charisma. And the obvious benefits of that are so that they can maximize their impact and their influence and probably their income as well. So, how did I come to be doing that? Very long story, actually. I have a mixed background so I started off in performing arts. I studied performing arts and I worked as an actor and a singer and a presenter in Australia. And at the same time, in order to be able to help pay the rent and put food on the table, I worked in business. So I worked for an organization where I had very flexible opportunities, really, and worked mainly in communication roles, customer relations, marketing, and that sort of thing. And then when I moved to Scotland, I fell into a learning and development role. So again, communication type role. And I had always wanted my own business, but I didn't know what that would be. And so I came up with an idea with an ex of mine, actually. We came up with the idea for an online platform for the performing arts industry. And we were so excited about this idea. So we decided that I would leave my job and create this company and then build it to such a point where he could leave his job and come and join me. So I pitched the idea to a startup accelerator, and they said that they weren't quite sure about the idea, but they kind of liked me and gave me an opportunity to come on the program. So I left my safe, secure, well-paid job in learning development on a Friday, and I started in a startup accelerator on the Monday. And then I started to research whether that was a good idea or not. Very quickly, when I was doing that research, I found that everybody I spoke to said, "Oh, that's a fantastic idea." But it had one major flaw. And that is that no one was prepared to pay for it. So it was looking like not a feasible business idea. But the thing that came out of that was that I was really good at pitching the idea. And people started asking me to help them with their pitches. And as part of my journey, when I was working in learning and development, I actually pursued an interest in public speaking. So I'd won some public speaking competitions. So it was great. I could kind of combine all of my training and coaching and public speaking and performing skills to help my clients. And so my business really grew organically as a result of that. And it's just kind of grown from there over the last 8 years or so.
Yeah, fabulous. Because I talk in my coaching and training about the story of how and the story of why and whatever, and often that story of how relies on skills and abilities from a previous part of your life that now comes to the fore in your business, and that's absolutely the case for you. So I'm curious, I want to explore a little bit more, if I may, about moving from Australia to Scotland. Now I'm guessing the said partner was involved in that, but how now? Do you know?
No, he wasn't. No. So what happened? So how did I come to be here? So I took a gap year at 35. I packed my bags and went backpacking, and so I flew to America and spent a very short amount of time there, then to Europe and backpacked around Europe. And as part of my trip, I came to Scotland and was quite interested in the Edinburgh Festival Fringe because of my background as a performer. And then so I came here early in my travels. Then I went sort of around Europe for about 3 or 4 months. And then I came back and I was planning to work and live in the UK for around 6 months, save some money, and then travel back to Australia via Africa. And 16 years later, I'm still here. I did eventually get a little trip to Africa. Yeah. So how that came about, So, and I never knew I was going to come to Scotland. It was very strange, but because of the Fringe Festival, that drew me here. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to. I was down in a little village in England, staying there with someone who I'd been pen friends with since I was 11.
Oh, wow. That's
So
incredible.
it's a lovely story. So, and I thought I would be there for a week or so just to say hi. And I ended up there for about 3 months and stayed with her. And it was so brilliant. I was so grateful for that opportunity. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was applying for jobs all over the place, and I had a background in marketing, but I wanted to do performing arts or arts marketing. But my background was in retail marketing, and I didn't have a marketing degree or anything. So, I was just kind of spreading the, job applications all over the place, didn't know where I was going to live. And then I just made a decision that I would go and live in Edinburgh and get myself a job at the Fringe. And I thought, I'll just do that. And then serendipity, I was working in a pub in this little village, and one night someone was in the pub and he knew I'd been thinking about going to Edinburgh, and he said, oh, I have to drive a truck of merchandise from London through to Glasgow tomorrow. Do you want a lift? Are you still thinking you're going to Scotland? Do you want a lift?
Yeah.
So I said, okay. And I literally packed my bag, my backpack and a couple of extra bags by that time. And then I got dropped off at the main Waverley station in Edinburgh at 1 a.m. On a March morning, and just started my life in Edinburgh. So yeah, it was. So I ended up, I got myself a temp job, and then within 3 weeks, I actually had a job at the Fringe Festival, and I worked there for about 9 months.
Fabulous.
Yeah, when I left there, that's when I went to learning and development. Another role. But anyway, so yeah, a really random story. And then, yes, the partner came in between. So probably about 3 years after I arrived in Scotland. Oh. And again, I didn't know how long I was going to stay here, but then I was with him for 7 years. Mm-hmm. And now we're not together, but I'm still here. I've always just felt really at home here. I don't know why.
Yeah.
If you believe in lives, then I think I've probably lived a past life here. And there's a whole nother story to that, but we won't go down that track.
Because, for most of us, going from somewhere like Australia where the weather is significantly better than in the UK, and going to Scotland where the weather is significantly worse usually than here. But I get the Edinburgh connection. I've only been once to the Edinburgh Festival, and I was going to go last year, but obviously...
Oh yeah. No, I just fell in love with the city of Edinburgh. It's just really beautiful, and yeah, as I said, have always felt really comfortable here. So.
Yeah. So you're still near Edinburgh, are you?
I'm near Edinburgh. I'm in a place called North Berwick. It's a seaside town about, I don't know, maybe 50 minutes drive from Edinburgh.
Okay, nice.
It's great.
So tell us then, Mel, because a more recent addition to your business is the Red Effect, isn't it? And I mentioned that you were wearing a red blazer when we first met. I didn't realise then that was almost your signature statement, that and nearly every time I see you, you're wearing red. I can see the red things on your cupboards behind, and you look great in red lipstick. So tell us what you mean by the Red Effect and how that aspect of your business is developing.
Sure. So, the story about how that came about actually is I was, trundling along in my business, and everything sort of from the outside was looking great. Business was going well. I just bought and renovated a new place to live. I bought myself a cute red convertible car, but I just wasn't excited about anything. I'd completely lost my mojo. So I was feeling a bit blur, and I don't know what happens when you get into that state where you just feel a bit meh and you're sort of out of flow, I suppose. And for me, 3 things happen. The first one is that I spend way too much time on social media, observing everyone else's life while avoiding my own.
Oh, and thinking how wonderful it was. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And then the next thing is that I eat my body weight in junk food, which is not ideal. That doesn't make me feel good either. At the time it does, but not later. Yeah. And the other thing is that I stopped wearing my red lipstick. Now, you've always known me probably with red lipstick, and most people who know me know that it's a big part of my identity. I love it. I wear it when I feel good, and I wear it when I want to feel good. But I got to the point where I wasn't even wanting to put on my lipstick, and I was just feeling really miserable. And I ended up having a conversation with a mutual friend of ours, Jeremy Nicholas. Mm-hmm. And I almost didn't have the conversation, but because I was feeling a bit I didn't really want to burden him because I was feeling a bit low and whatever. Anyway, we had this conversation. We talked for about 2 hours, and at the end of it, he said, "Mel, I think the answer's really simple." He said, "You everyone associates the color red with you. It's vibrant and energetic and positive." He said, "You just need to get back to the Mel that we all know and love. Why don't you just put on your red lipstick and go for a drive in your red car? Just stop being blue and be more red." And it was
Brilliant.
like the most random thing to say, but actually, and of course, you would never say that if he knew that I was really challenged with mental health issues or anything, he would never say just stop being blue. You don't do that. But actually, it worked in this situation, and he at the end of the conversation, those three words, "be more red," were ringing in my ears. And within 24 hours, I'd bought the domain name bemorered.com and I
Ah,
started writing a book. And
wow.
whatever it did, it just unlocked something. And I started to think, well, what does being more red mean? And for me, being more red is about getting back to the truth of who I am.
Mhm.
And I don't know about you, but I've talked to a lot of people who have experienced something similar to me, where you spend so much of your life trying to be who you think you should be and do the things that you think you should
Oh,
do,
completely get that.
you
Yes.
completely lose track of who you are and what you want in life. So
Yeah.
that for me, being more red was about getting back to me and who I am and what I want. And but it was also about making a choice. And I started to think about, okay, so that's what being more red is for me. What would that look like for other people? It's going to be different. And everybody associates red, the color red, with something different. And then I started to think about red as an acronym. And so, and a flexible acronym that we could sort of apply based on how we feeling, or what choice we want to make as to how we show up. So about our intention. So in one situation, you might want to be more radiant, entertaining, and dazzling, and in another situation, you might want to be more resilient, more enterprising, and more disciplined. So
Ah, clever.
I started to just think about
Yeah.
how each day I thought about, okay, what's happening on this day and what shade of red do I need to
Yes.
apply to make sure that I tap into the best of me and show up as the best me. And it's not about being fake or anything, but it's tapping into the what's true about you and what you need to bring out the best in you and to experience the best part of whatever situation you're in. So
Yes.
that's kind of how it all came about. And now, yeah, it's really become a much bigger part of my brand. And I have a program called the Red Effect that
Yes.
helps women, really, especially women, to tap into who they are, reconnect with who they are, and then express themselves boldly and unapologetically, really. That's the
Sounds
plan.
fabulous. And it is interesting that you talk about that, about the, gets to a point you don't want to put makeup on. And I think that's quite topical, isn't it, now when everybody's at home behind a screen. And so many people, when I go out on my dog walk and things, so I will every morning, I still get up and put some makeup on as if I'm going out to business. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm wearing a pair of jeans as opposed to a pair of smart trousers, but everything else that I'm wearing is what I would normally wear for business.
Yeah.
Why are you bothering? And it's like, because I feel better.
That's the key, and it doesn't matter about anyone else. It's about
No,
how you feel
no,
and how it,
exactly.
yeah. If it helps you to feel great and
Yeah,
show up in the way that you want to show up in the world, then yeah,
yeah,
we do
yeah.
whatever's right for us.
And the beauty of red also, it is one of those colours that there's a shade of red we can all wear, isn't there?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Your
And
colouring is very different from mine, and your ideal shade of red is going to be different from mine, but I can wear a red.
yes, and that's what I love, and that's why in the program and when I talk about the red effect, I talk about what's your shade of red. So you pick an
Yes,
R, an E, and a D word, and that's your shade of red for that moment.
yes,
That makes sense.
yes,
So, and I just whole
yes.
love the play on words there with the
I,
shade.
I think that's brilliant because I mean, in my sort of business career, I've always wanted an acronym for my business, but the words have always been too long, and I might get 4 out of 7 and can't. But red is fabulous because it's only 3 words, 3 letters.
I know, just
Yeah,
stumbled across it, and it's 3 words of whatever you want it to be.
yeah, yeah. And if you had to choose, Mel, hopefully you would never have to choose, but if you had to choose with the pitch and present side of your business or the red effect, which would you go with most? Is that a fair question, or
No, it's not a fair question because I love everything that I do,
okay?
and
And it
actually,
all sits together well, doesn't
it
it?
does. It all sort of sits under that because what I have done now is the RED acronym is now part of my pitch and presentation
Ah,
process. So I used to have a
yes,
3-step process in that,
yes,
but I used a different acronym. But now I use the words research, and all about,
Yeah.
researching your audience, what's the
Yeah.
topic, all of that, getting your objective right, and all of that. Express, and that's about creating the content. So how do you express your message? And then deliver. How do you deliver with confidence, credibility, and charisma? So
Fabulous.
the RED acronym works really well, and now I have it all in all of my pitch and presentation training as well. So I love
Fabulous.
how it's all kind of come together.
Yes, and also when you are being more read, it's about self-presentation, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that whole,
So it ties
idea of
in.
standing out, making an impact, being remembered, the red,
Yes.
it stops people in their tracks. It is an attention grabbing color. And so, yeah, it really connects with that whole message of me, really.
Yeah, yeah. And there's that whole psychology, isn't there? I read somewhere, I remember years ago when my husband was going for a job interview, I said, get a red tie. Um,
Yes. Yeah, heard of that
I
as well.
think I think it has authority, doesn't it? The colour red, something like
Yeah, I think, I mean, the thing is, different people have different perceptions about what
okay.
red is.
Mm.
And I was talking to someone the other day, and they hate red, and it's because of they don't barrack for a football team that, like, their rival football team is a red
Yeah.
football team. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Mel, we could talk for hours, couldn't we? But do you have a specific, either a specific bit of the story you've just outlined, or a slightly different story that you wanted to share with the audience where they can take another message from it? Obviously, there's been some messages from what you've said already, but
Yeah, I suppose a big part of my life, actually, and I hadn't thought about telling this story, but I, as a young person, I used to always want to be a performer. So as a young person, I would be running around the house, dressing up and play acting and singing and whatever. And one particular day, I was pretending to be an opera singer, and I was wandering around the house going, oh, this stupid little, just silly kid. And a relative was visiting at the time, and he put his hands up to his ears and he went, you're hurting my ears. And he laughed at me and he said, you'll never be a singer. And as an 8-year-old, boom, my
oh,
dreams were shattered. Like, I took it to heart so deeply, and to the point where I didn't even sing again, really,
oh, that's
forever.
really
So
awful.
yeah, so it's so amazing that, I mean, words have so much power, don't they? And we don't even know. So where Jem went, just be more red, and it was such a positive outcome. With
Yes,
this particular one, I took it on board, and
yes.
I had years and years and years of singing lessons, and I never practiced, so I didn't get any better. And I never practiced because I didn't want anyone to hear me.
Oh,
So it was really weird, and I changed my whole thoughts about. So I decided in my teens that yes, I would pursue a career as a performer, but I had to be an actor. There was no way I could be a singer. So I took singing lessons, so it was another string to my bow.
hmm.
I didn't sing solo in public until I was in my 20s, and so many times with excruciating fear and paranoia, and literally I've had meltdowns. And I think what's interesting is that severe stage fright that I carried right through, and I've sung professionally throughout my life. So in my 20s, I ended
Yes.
up in a 60s girl band
All
tribute
right.
show,
Okay.
which was so much fun. But I always felt like the weak link. So the three of us shared the lead
Okay.
vocals and whatever, but I'd be smiling and singing and dancing, and always thinking that the audience were thinking that why was I in this show? They're
Oh
she's
gosh.
the weak link. What's she doing? So all of this stuff is carried right through. And I'm 51 now, and I was 48 when I finally started to get some help to start to shift that.
Wow.
But it's been a long, long journey.
Yes.
But the reason I say that story is because I think the things that happen to us really do help us in our life path. And now I can totally relate to the people who come to me when they've got a fear of public speaking, that absolute crippling stage fright.
Yes.
I know it. I've felt it. I have been in meltdown, sobbing, crying, shaking, like, half an hour before the opening night of a show when I was the lead role.
Yes.
I once again had this little moment of angst and the not good enough feeling and the paranoia that people were going to be laughing or judging or whatever. And so I think having had that experience, it helps me really relate to the people who come to me for their,
Yeah.
when they have fear. And so many people have a fear of public speaking.
Yes,
You
they
you all
do.
have experienced that
Yeah.
with your work,
Yeah.
and come
For
across
sure.
that.
for sure.
So
That's
yeah,
really lovely that you can now see that as a gift in a sense. But
absolutely.
the sad part about it, Mel, and obviously I don't know your relative, and you might not know whether he even meant it at the time. He probably was just joking.
He didn't. And I know that, and actually he doesn't even know. I've never told him that. But interestingly, what happened is that I actually did some further work on it and realized that this fear of singing probably comes from much, much earlier. So
Okay.
when I was about 3, it turns out,
Yes.
so I was the firstborn. My brother was a few years after me. And, when being the firstborn, I was the star of the show, and then suddenly my brother came along and I had to kind of curb it. And I can remember one time I was, again, mucking about, whatever, dancing or singing or whatever. And I can remember my dad saying, "Pipe down, Melanie, you wake the baby." And as a 3-year-old, I took
Okay.
that to mean that it's
Yes.
dangerous to express myself. And so
Oh gosh, yes.
it was such a light bulb moment. And like I said, I was about 48 when I realized this. Such a light bulb moment for me. And I realized that actually probably my whole message in terms of what I do in the world is about helping other people to express themselves. My whole journey has been about being able to express myself and express myself authentically. And
Yes.
so, yeah, it's so weird how the things that happen to us, they can be quite devastating, or we can think they are. But as you said, we can find the gift in that. And yeah, I
Yeah.
feel blessed, even though it's, been some pretty agonizing situations when I've been, absolutely paranoid and shaken on stage. But something kept driving me to do that. And
Yes.
now I have the tools to be able to help other people get over their stage fright and express themselves as well.
And that's that kind of brings it all round full circle, doesn't it? Which is really really nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It makes it so scary to be a parent or be around small children because the
You
stories
never know.
go so deep and not meant
Yeah.
at the time. And
Yeah, and it never
yeah,
is. I mean, it's very
no,
rare. People are, really good. I don't see the bad in anyone
no,
really. So we
no,
don't ever mean to upset anyone or hurt
no.
anyone. But it is those, you just never know how your words might be taken. So it is
Yeah,
quite important to
yeah,
choose them carefully.
yeah. Mel, it's been amazing talking to you. Thank you so much. How can people get in touch with you if they want to find out more about the Red Effect or just to follow you on social media or whatever?
Sure. So that you can find anything in the Red Effect at bemorered.com. That would take you to a page that gives you information about the Red Effect. So it's bemorered.com. Otherwise, I'm melsherwood.com. And any social media channel, pretty much, you'll find me as Mel Sherwood. So LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram.
Great. And
Yeah.
if you want to share some of that in the notes, then that would be brilliant afterwards. So
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. Yeah.
a link. Mel, thank you so so much, and an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure and a delight. Thanks.